Hey guys, been a while since I've been able to do an outdoor video. Don't have a whole lot of time today, but I figured I'd pop on and say hello. I'm gonna try out some of that chili, that dehydrated chili that I made the other day. Gonna try a little of that, and gonna have some of my Waka instant coffee. Waka waka waka. This is the chili. That's my chili. It's bear season, so that's why June's got orange on today. Get out of my chili. So I thought I'd share a little story with you guys. Get out of my chili, dude! That's my chili. You're terrible. You guys gonna see her face. She's just... Hey! Hey! That's my chili. That is my chili. You're fogging up the camera. That's my chili. You'd be good, I might give you a taste. So it was October 2015. So right during the rut season for moose. We had been seeing a bull and a cow several times during the week, for a period of few weeks, out in the fields and right on the edge of the woods around our house. So we'd been seeing them around, and it was after lunch, so I put my oldest son down for a nap. He was almost 2 at the time, and our youngest son was about 6 months. And I took him out in a stroller to go check the mail. So I'm just beep-bopping along, minding my own business, and our driveway has, there's like a hill, and then it turns. It's got like a sharp right before it goes down to the road. So I was pushing the stroller up the hill. And I was almost to the top of the hill, pushing the stroller along, thinking about all the things I had to do. And I look up, and when I looked up, there was this big bull moose. I mean, this was clearly a different moose than the little bull that we'd seen hanging out with that cow. This was a big fella. He had, I mean, a nice rack. He would have been a good trophy for somebody. So, there I was, face to face with this big bull moose. After the fact of this whole thing, I went back and I paced out, because he was standing next to a certain tree, and I paced out heel to toe, my feet, as to how far away he was. And it was 75 of my steps, and my feet aren't quite a foot long. So he was really close. He must have just watched me coming all the way up the driveway. I can't believe he just stood there and watched me. Like, you would have thought he would have just run off. Typically moose do. They just, if you ever see one in the woods, they take right off. They don't usually get aggressive. I mean, they can during the rut, which is, you know, this October, that was during the rut for the moose breeding season. And, yeah, this fellow was just he was just standing there staring at me. And I just froze. I'm like, okay, I got a 6-month-old in the stroller. There's like nothing between him and us. On one side of the driveway, there's like this dip down into the woods, and on the other side of the driveway, there was a bank up into the woods, so it's not like there was any tree right handy for me to like go behind or anything. And I had little tiny Liam all bundled up in the stroller, buckled in and all that. So I'm like, oh my word, now what? And it's just amazing how many thoughts can go through your mind in a matter of seconds. I was thinking, okay, if I get creamed out here, you know, how long is poor little Jackson going to be in his crib before somebody finds him? You know, and just so many things. Like, What can I do? I mean, there wasn't even like any big stick right nearby to grab, you know, as if that would do anything. Yeah, it was hair-raising to say the least. So we stood there and stared at each other, and it was only a few seconds. And I just kept hoping he was gonna take off, and he didn't. As a matter of fact, he started to paw the ground, and he started tossing his head, and he just ran right at us. I kid you not, he was less than 75 feet away, and he just started running right at us. Head right down. I mean, he was going for it. And the only thing that was left for me to do is to just, you know, make myself as big looking as I could and just put my hands up and just yell at him. And I was just about to do that. I mean, there was no time to think or to, you know, I mean, it just instantaneous. The only thing I could say was, Lord help. That was it. That's all there was. So I said, Lord help. And at the time, I didn't even know the dog was outside. I had no idea where she was. Usually she follows us on a walk, but actually usually she's up ahead of us. Like, she'll run along ahead of us and like smell everything and, you know, nose around and look for critters and... But up until this point, she was not anywhere around. And I mean, just at like the last second, she comes running from behind me somewhere. Full speed, and she just runs right past me, and she jumps on the moose's head and just starts attacking him right on his head. And he spun right around, and he chased her, and he tried to drive her right into the ground, and she wasn't having any of it. She just kept snarling at him and chasing him. She chased him clean off in through the woods. And I grabbed Liam, like, as soon as she, you know, diverted the moose, I just grabbed Liam up out of the stroller and ran for the house. It's like, yep, stroller can stay here, I don't care, we're just, grab the baby, run as fast as I can to the house. Then, so I get back in the house, and I don't see the dog for 3 hours. I thought he killed her. I was just like, no. But she eventually came back 3 hours later, and she was fine. I just could not believe that. Like, she was 3 years old at the time, so I mean, she was a fairly young dog, taking on this great big moose. I was just like, oh my word. So, I was pretty proud of her. Yeah, pretty proud of you. Good doggy. Yeah. So she's my little hero. I honestly, I don't know. I mean, there's no way to know whether that moose would have spooked off at the last second, you know, if I had just like yelled at him. I'll never know. Thankfully, I'll never know. It did not look good. I can tell you, it did not look good. She's a pretty cool dog. She's killed coons, and if I can find the picture, I'll insert it here somewhere, but she's killed a pine marten before. I went out in the barn to feed the chickens, and I heard this, oh my goodness, the chickens were squawking like crazy, and I heard this awful scream, like this just animal scream, and I came running out of the barn, and there the dog was sitting there with a dead pine marten in front of her. I was like, wow, that just happened. So she saved the chickens from a pine marten. She's killed several weasels, ermine. Same thing, different color. So she's pretty cool. Kind of a neat story about how I got her. I was actually at a chicken swap. I was getting ready to leave, and van pulls in. Chicken swap's just where, like, you can bring your chickens, you can bring any animals, really, like little farm animals you want to sell or trade for something, ducks, you know, farm items, tools, things like that. So I was at this chicken swap and I was just getting ready to leave and this van pulls in with a couple of puppies. And there was two of them. There was Junebug and then her sister, who looked more like a collie. So her sister looked more like her mother, and June took more after her father. Well, the little collie looking one got scarfed up in just a second. I mean, that one went pretty quick. Funny, actually, a lady that lives in my town ended up with her. I don't know if she still got her now or not, but... So I'm sitting there, and my sister was there with me, and she's like, "Oh, isn't the puppy cute? Don't you want to take it home?" And the lady's like, "Oh yeah, they're 8 weeks old today. They just gotta go. We can't keep them. We've got enough dogs." And I was like, "Well, they had like, you know, have they had any shots or anything? What's the deal?" Hadn't had any shots or nothing, so. And the whole time I'm like, there's no way I could just bring a dog home. Like, growing up, I'd never had a dog. Never had a dog before. I was like, well, it sounds like fun, but this is just never going to happen. And then my little sister was there, and she's egging me on. "Oh, come on, you know you want her. Look, nobody's taking her. The other one's all gone." And they stood around for probably 10 minutes. Nobody wanted the poor little thing. So... I'd been married 2 months. I called my husband up on I had a flip phone, track phone, call him up. And I'm like, "Hey, there's some puppies here. There's one little puppy left and she's all alone." You know, and so I'm like, "Can I bring her home?" And before he could answer, the call dropped and I couldn't get him back. So I was sitting there like, I'll just bring the dog home. What's he gonna do? Say no once I get there? So I did. I scooped her up and I put her in my pickup truck and I went and got some puppy food and a little collar and a couple of toys and I brought my dog home. I pull in and I get out of the truck and Joe, he was crouched down on the ground there, back to working on a turkey plucker, or chicken plucker, I mean, out in the driveway. And I just took the puppy and I sat her down on the ground. And she went running right over to him and he was back too. And she went right between his legs and looked up at him like this. He spun around. "You did bring that dog home." And I'm just sitting there like, can I keep her? "Well, I guess you're gonna have to now." So that's how I ended up with her and brought her home. So she's collie, black lab, and one of her grandparents was part English wolfhound. So she's a mutt, but she's a sweetheart. And counting back on the calendar, because them people said that those puppies were 8 weeks old that day. And if they were telling the truth, which I don't know why they wouldn't have been, but if they was telling the truth, she was born on our wedding day. Like I said, we'd been married 2 months, so that was pretty cool. So she's my little best buddy. She's my bestie. See how this chili turns out. I'm really not sure how much, oops, I think I got a little too much water. Hang on. Oh, it smells good. This is actually the first time I'm testing out that dehydrated chili, so see how she came out. I'm gonna put the lid on when it's soaked for a little bit. Reconstitute itself. Mosquitoes are thick in here. Put my hat on. Help keep them off a little bit. Pretty thick after the rain we got this morning. Alright, let's see if this chili is chili. Looks pretty good. Oh yeah. Looks like just the right amount of water. There she is. Alright, that turned out pretty good. Hot. You're staring at me like, will you give me some? As soon as it cools off, I'll give you a little bit. Just a little taste. Yeah, that's why she's like 40% overweight. Turned out to be a nice day. Oh, my foot's asleep. Ugh. I think it was my last bushcraft video. Mentioned about canoe. Well, the lightest canoe we've got weighs 90 pounds. Get away from my chili. You wait. You wait. You wait. So, weighs almost as much as I do. I could take it out if I took the pickup and I had the tailgate down. I could probably slide it in there. Wouldn't be very pretty, but I probably could pull it off. I'm actually saving up for a canoe that I found that only weighs like 30 something pounds. It's pretty expensive though. Everybody can have a dream, right? You like chili? Need a drink? Good girl. Yeah, you guys should give this chili recipe a whirl. It's pretty good. Turned out real good. Better than I expected, honestly. I mean, as far as dehydrating it before, that's the first time I dehydrated it. Well, I think I'm going to pack up and head back. Didn't have a whole lot of time today, but... Huh? Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Hope you enjoyed a little story. And getting to know my dog a little more. She's a knucklehead sometimes, but I love her. It's funny, before I had kids, like, I mean, she'll always be one of my kids. But she was like my baby. Like, I would go to Lincoln and get her a cheeseburger. Plain cheeseburger at McDonald's, like... Spoiled rotten. She's spoiled. Oh, you know what? There's a book. I should have brought it with me. But there is a book called How to Be Your Dog's Best Friend, I think it's called. And it was recommended to me a year ago. I mean, I read like their philosophy, but it's written by these monks in New Skeet, and they raise German Shepherds, so I mean, it's mainly like geared toward German Shepherds, but anybody could use it. And it's a great book about dogs and like how to train them. And I mean, she's got some awful habits that I know are a direct result from, you know, me just not knowing what I was doing when I got a dog. So I wish I'd read that book 9 years ago, but still been pretty helpful. I'll put it down in the description in case you want to check it out. I recommend anybody with a dog read it. It's really good. And someday I actually do want to get a German Shepherd puppy. Sucker for punishment, I guess. Get 3 kids, a dog, and I want to add another puppy, but whatever. Alright, well, thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and we will catch you on the next one.